Daniel woke up that morning not realizing that he was about to be sent on a major journey. As he was getting ready after his prayer time, he heard a knock at the door and he went, and there was his favorite person. Man that by his very name struck laughter into chorus was Ashpenaz himself. Now, it had been a while since Daniel had seen Ashpenaz, and he had actually gotten a lot skinnier during that time. Daniel looked at him almost concerned and said, "Where did this come from?" Said, it's kind of funny because that journey that you boys did, I decided to take that journey too. And I feel so much healthier. It's so nice. But that's not what I came to talk to you about. Daniel chuckled and he said, "Okay, well, why are you here? The king needs to see you." So he said, "Well, what's new? I am one of the king's major advisors, if not the major advisor." And both of them chuckled at that, just knowing how far Daniel had actually come. Daniel got his things and he ran to the king's chamber and was ushered in straight to Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar looked at him, and once again he thanked Daniel for everything that he had done and said, "Daniel, I have something that I want you to do. You know that project that you and your friends are working on?" He said, "Yeah, you're talking about the Hanging Gardens, right?" He said, "Yeah. Here's what I want you to do. That like I've told you before, this is a project for the queen herself. Try to keep this as very low-key as possible so she doesn't find out. But I want you to go to Persia, and I want you specifically, to get some of the major things that she likes. Her dad's already waiting for you. You're going to have a fun time. He is such a great guy." So Daniel scratches his head and said, "Okay, king, whatever you need, I'm here to serve." Nebuchadnezzar said, "Good." Daniel walks out of the throne room, and Nebuchadnezzar watches as Daniel goes out and the door closes, and he waits for a couple more minutes. Then all of a sudden, his guards see that he jumps up off his throne, and he's so excited because now Daniel's gone. Daniel's gone, and I can do what I've been planning. I'm going to have so much fun with this. He can't stop me. Neither can his gods. Now, Nebuchadnezzar forgot that God was listening to him right then. God starts chuckling, going, "If you only knew what I have planned." Nebuchadnezzar gets everything that he needs for Daniel to go his way to Persia, and Daniel starts the trek and enjoys that time while he's there, but he doesn't realize that his friends are in a different situation. Daniel continues to pray for them and for Nebuchadnezzar, and at that time, Nebuchadnezzar starts to get a group together to go out and build something extremely extravagant. He said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go out and we're going to build on the same plain where the ancient tower was. And I think that I figured it out where the exact spot was. We're going to build right on that spot. He was so excited. He said, "There is no cost that is an object with this. I want this to be something that people will remember for ages and ages to come." Shows them the designs, tells them how tall this statue is going to be, what needs to be placed there just in case someone decides that they're going to go against him. And even with that, he gets his scribes in and he says, "Hey, take down this note, put it into form, and we are going to tell people at this day, at this time, we want you to come to the festivities of this statue being dedicated to my honor and my greatness. You know, even as Daniel is going to Persia, God puts his hand on his shoulder and shares with him what's going on. Daniel had an idea that this was going to happen, but he didn't realize that God was using him in a specific way to make sure that certain events unfolded the way that they were. Nebuchadnezzar's statue is built, and even looking at it, he was so excited because it reminded him of the Ancient One, that of Marduk himself, or as the Ancient Ones knew him to start with, Nimrod. Oh, he was so excited because if his dad could only see this, oh, he would be so excited. They had everything together. They had the band. They had the food. The fires were stoked just in case they needed to throw someone in. Everything was picture perfect. All these nations had reserved their places. Everyone that was anyone was going to be on that plane. Actually, everyone that wanted to stay alive was going to be on that plane. The day came, the time came. Nebuchadnezzar was sitting on his special throne. Oh, he was so thrilled because this throne was built just for this occasion. Oh, it felt so soft, felt so nice. Even the queen had her special place to sit. She was excited as he was because everything was perfect. There was nothing that was wrong. They even were eating as the music was playing, and then the time came where the announcement was given, when you hear all these instruments playing, what you need to do is you need to bow down. Don't even think about it, just do it so that you will live. Interesting, isn't it? Daniel's three friends were standing there in the crowd going, does he still not understand what he's doing? Does he not realize that going against God is a death sentence to yourself? They shake their heads, but at the same time they circle around each other and say, here's what we need to remember. No matter what the king decides to do, we will continue to be faithful to God. They made that promise from the very beginning, and they held that promise, not just because the promise was among the four of them. They made the promise to God because God was faithful to them. They had promised even before that they would be faithful to him no matter what. Music starts playing, everyone starts bowing, and Nebuchadnezzar is oh so excited until he sees three lone boys standing in the midst of a sea of faces fallen on the ground. He doesn't know what to do, so he calls his guards. Hey, you see those three? Bring them to me. Guards go and get them and bring them to him, and as they walk closer, he realizes that they are some of his trusted advisors. Nebuchadnezzar not only gets mad, but he grows pale because he knows that if he kills them, he's in trouble. So he's like, well, okay, here's what I'll do. I'll give them mercy, and we'll see what exactly is going to happen so that they're able to do what needs to be done. They continue to come closer and closer, and at that moment in time, they realize that Nebuchadnezzar has a plan that they couldn't even imagine. Nebuchadnezzar sees them and he knows what needs to be done, and he says, okay, boys, you know what I've said, you know what I'm doing, and there is a result in the end that if you don't obey me, I have to throw you into this furnace. They said, you can do this, but we're still not going to obey. Nebuchadnezzar starts getting madder and madder and said, you got to obey. I'll give you another chance. Shadrach steps forward and says, listen, king, even if you were to give us all the time in the world, There is no way that we will go against what our God has said. We are still going to be faithful. We're still going to obey no matter what the cost may be. Nebuchadnezzar looks at them. He gets even madder. And at that moment in time, he orders his guards to go and to heat these furnaces 7 times hotter. Now, the guards were scared even with that. And they said, well, okay. And they heat them. And as they're being heated, some of these guards start dropping down dead because the furnace is way too hot. So they grab the 3 and they go to throw them in. As they throw them in, the rest of the guards die on impact because the furnace is so hot. Nebuchadnezzar didn't know what to do because he had just lost some of his best guards. He jumps up because of this and, he's not sure what to say, what to do. But as he looks in, he realizes that these 3 men not only were not touched, they were unbound. They were walking in the midst of the fire, knowing that there was something more in this. And all of a sudden he looks even closer and he realizes that God himself was walking with them. He gets even closer and he realizes it wasn't just God, it was Jesus himself. And he calls out and says, young men, come out. Come forward, come back to me. Because there's something that's different with you. And they come out and they start talking about what had just happened, and they realize that God had a bigger purpose than they could even imagine. God was continually showing them his might and his power through the whole situation. And because of that, Nebuchadnezzar ended up being changed because he saw Jesus himself. And he realized and he apologized that he had even done this. And the 3 said in unison, I hope you'll understand this, that our God is so powerful that he walks with us through the fire. We have nothing to worry about because God is with us always. So at that moment, Nebuchadnezzar calls his scribes again, and he issues a decree to all nations that everyone needs to worship the God of these 3 because of his might and his power and his longness and the fact that he wants a relationship with us. Now, they didn't realize, but this would not only change Nebuchadnezzar's life, it would put into the nation a lasting impact that would continue to follow them through the rest of their lives and even have an impact on what Daniel would end up doing. While Daniel was coming back, he realized that God was calling him to even more, and that he would be doing something in ways that he could never imagine, and in ways that even the writing on the wall wouldn't necessarily show the kingdom what was really going on. But God himself would continue to work through their situations, showing them that what he says and what he does is true and to the point.